And your name is?
Billy Fleischman.
Billy, thanks for coming out today. What brought you out to this event today?
Well, because something has to be done. I mean, it just can't go on this way.
What are you thinking that can't go on this way?
Um, Religious freedom, all the mandates that Obama has come down with. It's just, he's been in office 3.5 years and he's still blaming Bush.
What do you think would happen, Billy, if we were not successful at this and there started to be a little encroachment on our religious freedom?
Oh, no, religious freedom is what this nation is founded on. I mean, that's why the Pilgrims came over, was for religious freedom. And I don't believe that we should have Sharia law in this country, but I definitely believe that we should worship the way we want to.
Excellent. Anything else about why this event would be important to you?
Because mainly religious freedom.
Excellent. Okay. Well, thank you very much, Billy. Okay. And to the rally, what would we call this, Gwen?
We would call this a rally of concerned citizens
For religious freedom.
for religious freedom, religious liberty, and for letting the world know how concerned we are about the Health and Human Services mandate.
Now, I'm Don Nelson, and I'm here with Gwen Lindy. Gwen, can you tell us what your role in this is?
I'm the organizer.
Okay. And Gwen, we met, this has just come up spontaneously in the last couple months. Tell us why you are so concerned, Gwen, about the issue. What is the issue and why are you so concerned about it?
Well, bottom line, what it is the federal government is telling us to do something that violates our First Amendment freedoms. We have the right to practice our faith in public. We have the right to live our lives of faith in public, and the federal government is telling us we cannot do that.
Now, Gwen, a lot of people have tried to make this about contraception, and it's not really about that, is it?
No, it's totally about religious liberty. It's about religious freedom. Contraception is widely available, and nobody is trying to restrict anybody's access to contraception or any of these other services. Simply, we do not want to have to pay for it.
And Gwen, some people have tried to portray this as a war on women. How do you feel about that?
I feel that the HHS mandate is a war on women of faith and a war on women of conscience. We do not want to have to pay for things that we believe are immoral.
Now, Gwen, we have a lot of people coming out today. We have these kind of events going on across the country. What do you hope happens from this?
I hope that we send a clear message to our congressional delegation and to the presidential administration that this is not the last of this type of demonstration, that citizens of all faiths are concerned and ready to stand up and tell their government, change this.
Yeah. Now, Gwen, they can come out to rallies like this or events like this today, but some people can't come. What are some small practical steps people can take to make sure that this is rolled back?
The first thing that people can do is pray. Pray for the rollback and pray for the conversion of the souls of those in the administration. The second thing that people can do is call their elected representatives. Call them, write them, email them, let them know how you feel.
Yeah. And Gwen, you have a blog and a website for the group. What's the group's name, and then where can they find it on the net?
Our little ad hoc committee is the Defense of Religious Liberty Northern Nevada, and they can find us on Religious Liberty Northern Nevada. That's Religious Liberty NN blog at WordPress.com.
And Gwen, they can get on a mailing list with you too to be kept up on the different news that is coming out. Is that correct?
They sure can. They can follow the blog.
Okay, excellent. Okay, Gwen Lindy, thank you so much for putting this on.
Thank you, Mr. Nelson.
Okay. That was Gwen Lindy, and she's the director of this new group that is coming out in Reno regarding religious liberty and religious freedom.
Nancy McCraley.
Okay, Nancy, why are you out here today?
Because I believe strongly in pro-life, and I believe strongly in this mandate here, and I want to stop the abortions. I stand out in front of the clinic, and I see way too many people going in, and I can't stand it.
What about religious freedom?
Oh, of course. I mean, everybody should have it. We've had it all along, so why all of a sudden is it not going to be a religious freedom? People don't understand that.
What were you hoping would happen today by coming out here?
The people driving by who are all looking, which is great, and they all look when we're at the clinic, They need to be aware. And they're not being aware. They've got their heads in the cloud, and they're just not aware. If they see this, then they'll say, wow, what's going on there? Maybe they'll look at something, Google it, whatever.
Okay, thanks very much. And your name is?
My name is Miriam King.
Miriam? Oh, Miriam, thanks for coming out today. We just want to ask you, this is, about the Obama rule, which would impact religious freedom. What are you concerned about?
Well, I'm very concerned about my religious freedom. I was born in Cuba, and one of the reasons we left was to be able to have the freedoms, especially religion. And so for me, this is very important.
Now, can you describe a little bit about the lack of religious freedom in Cuba and what that, how that impacted your life?
Well, decided that he was going to remove all the Catholic Church and all the whatever was to do with religion. I remember as a child that I was going to Catholic schools, and right before we left, in the school that I was at, they said, do you want a piece of candy from God? Put your head down and pray to God for candy. And the teacher didn't put a candy in our desk. Then she said, pray to Fidel Castro for a piece of candy. And we all had candies on our desks, and it was the time for us to leave.
Wow.
That was an example of what it is to take your religious freedoms away.
And do you see any parallels happening in the United States, or is there anything you feel could happen in the United States as a result of this that could be similar to what you experienced in Cuba?
Well, I think everything's being done very subtly. They keep taking things away. Like right now, my biggest thing is I don't feel like I need to pay for other people's birth control. I mean, they're infringing on my right. And no matter which way you look at it, we're paying for all of that. We're paying for abortions all over the world with our taxpayers, and I have no control of that. So that's a form of, taking away our rights as Americans.
Nancy, thank you so much for coming out today and for being willing to talk to us. And your name is? All right, is it okay? Okay. Huh? I don't see him yet. I'm here with Sharon Parker, and Sharon, forget that, guys. Cut that. Could you give me your name?
Sharon Parker.
Okay, Sharon. Sharon, you are an attorney, and you're one of the persons organizing in this event. What are you concerned about that led you to start this group and have this event?
Well, I'm concerned about religious liberty in the United States of America. The First Amendment protects our right of religious liberty, and the HHS mandate is an attempt to carve out a portion of our religious liberty, to say that we're not free to determine what is moral or immoral for our institutions and for our people.
Yeah. How could this affect the average person if this thing is not rolled back?
Well, it's going to affect the ability of organizations such as Catholic Charities of Northern Nevada and Bishop Manogue to be able to carry out their mission. If they have to pay hundreds of thousands of dollars in fines, they're not going to be able to stay in business, which means that the poor in our community are not going to be taken care of, our students are not going to get educated. And
now, some people have said just Catholics are concerned about it. I'm not Catholic, but you are. What do you think about that charge that this is just a Catholic issue?
No, it's absolutely not just a Catholic issue. First of all, to the extent that this involves forcing Catholic or any institution to pay for abortion-inducing drugs, it affects anybody and everybody who is against abortion. Second of all, it affects everyone's religious liberty. If my religious liberty is threatened, everyone's religious liberty is threatened. It might be the Mormons next, it might be the Jews, it might be anybody.
Excellent. We're seeing a lot of evangelicals get involved. I think, hundreds of evangelicals have come out, against this too. I think that they also see that this is a serious issue that affects them too.
I sure hope so, yeah. We need all the help we can get.
Now, Sharon, what about them saying, critics saying that this is a war on women?
Okay, well, I'll refrain from using profanities, but that's absolutely false. we are against abortion, we are against contraception, but our rationale for that is because we believe in the dignity of the human person. We believe in protecting women from being used as sexual objects and then being thrown in the garbage.
Yeah. What strikes me about the idea that this is somehow a war on women is that you look around here and look at all the women that are here.
You know, Gwen Lindy and I are the organizers of this rally. We're both women. We're both extremely concerned about this. There's no dearth of women who are concerned about religious liberty and who are opposed to contraception and abortion. Contraception and abortion are against the dignity of women.
Yeah. Now, you talk about dignity of women, dignity of human beings. How does it impact? It strikes me that there's something indignant about forcing people to participate in something they think is immoral.
Absolutely. And what's even funnier about it is that those who support abortion rights have billed it as something that is related to freedom of choice. In other words, they've claimed that freedom of choice means they have to be able to be free to choose abortion. But now we're not free to choose not to participate in abortion by virtue of this HHS mandate. So it's an absolute turning on its head of the very rationale that abortion advocates have relied on for 40 years.
Yeah, very interesting that the proponents of choice seem to always want to force us to choose to cooperate with them. Sharon, what were you hoping would happen with this event today and your committee?
Well, first of all, we want to raise awareness in the community. We want our political leaders to know that this is a serious problem, that a lot of people are going to be affected by it, that a lot of people are opposed to the mandate. We want to gather political steam in order to overturn the mandate.
Yeah. And Sharon, one last thing here. We know you're busy and got to talk to some other people. What about, how can they, participate with you in what you're doing here?
We have a blog. I'm sorry to say I don't know the exact address, but it's Defense of Religious Liberty, Northern Nevada. You can get in touch with us through the blog and just get involved. Start contacting our local representatives and just get involved. We'll be hosting further activities as time goes on.
Okay, excellent. Sharon Parker, thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, with me here I have Pastor Roger Canary. Pastor Roger, can you tell us a little bit about your church?
Well, our church is Church of Jesus Christ Spirit-Filled over in Sparks. We're out here today to let everyone know that we stand for religious liberty.
Pastor Roger, a lot of people have said this is just a Catholic issue. You don't believe that. You and I are evangelicals, but we're here today.
Absolutely, it's not a Catholic issue. It's a right to celebrate the worship of our Lord Jesus Christ.
Absolutely. What do you worry could happen if we didn't have this edict by the Obama administration turned around?
If it isn't turned around? Well, if it isn't turned around, I think it's an inroad to our religious freedom. And so we've got to stand together and be sure that the federal government, whoever it is, whether it's the Obama administration or any other political group, would keep their hands off the church.
And what do you fear could happen, in the long run to your church and other religious institutions if this doesn't happen?
Well, I can see how that the secular progressives are making inroads against our religious freedoms, not only now with the health care, but also even telling us who we'd have to hire or couldn't hire, and that we'd have to actually rent our buildings out to people who don't believe in the Word of God.
Excellent. Any other thoughts?
No, it's just a great day here. Good to see all these people out here, and good to always see you out here, Don. The good work that you're doing. God bless you.
All right. Thank you, Pastor Roger. You're one of the leading pastors and one of my favorite people in this community. Thanks for coming out today. Sure appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, God bless. Shirley and
Donna Kelly.
Donna and Shirley, just want to ask you why you came out today.
Well, I think it's important to stand up for religious liberty in our country. If we don't take a stand, if we don't speak up, then our liberties will be violated. Our consciences will be violated, and we want to make it known that we stand for religious liberty and also for the lives of all people.
Thank you, Shirley. And how about you, Donna?
I'm here to protect my religious rights.
Yeah. Ladies, what happens when our religious liberty is gone? Any thought of that? Or any fears that you have about that? Or let me change the question here. We hear a lot of people talking about, I have a right to choose this or that, and this would give us no choice. It would say, you are going to participate in my choice. Do any of you have any thoughts on that?
Well, I think this could just be the beginning of our losing our rights.
And what were you hoping would happen today as a result of coming out to this event?
Well, I'm hoping that the rights of conscience will be protected. That in our country, we're all free to live according to our conscience, our deeply held religious convictions, and not have them forced upon others. So that we're just saying that each person needs to be able to live according to their deeply held religious convictions.
Okay, excellent. Well, ladies, thank you very much. Did either of you have anything else you want to say about today?
Well, I think we're here to make a statement that we are not going to stand by and allow, if possible, our religious rights to be taken away.
Excellent. Donna and Shirley, thank you so much. Okay, have a great day.
Declared over 2 centuries ago, it is self-evident that you have endowed human beings with certain inalienable rights, among which are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. From the founding of this nation, people have come here seeking the promise of liberty and the freedom to exercise their religious beliefs. We come here today with grave concern that freedom of religion be safeguarded and not diminished. We stand here on behalf of the freedom of conscience of all people of faith. We pray that the dignity of every human being be protected and respected. We pray that the law of the land not constrain the exercise of religion of individuals or institutions, nor force them to act against their conscience. As you have given us the blessing of life, we ask you now to send upon us your guidance and blessing at this gathering. Amen.
Thank you, Bishop Calvo. I would now like to introduce to you Sarah Beasley, a sophomore at Worcester High School, who will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Sarah?
I feel short now. Right. So, right. If you would all please put your right hand over your heart, find a flag to salute, and join me, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Sarah. Before I introduce our first speaker, I want to make one short statement. I want to read one short statement to you. This quote should be very familiar to you all. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech, or of the press, or of the right of the people to peaceably assemble, and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. This is precisely what we are about today, petitioning our government for a redress of grievances. Grievances against that same First Amendment to the Constitution of the United States that I just read. I served 26 and a half years in the United States Air Force. As an officer, I swore an oath to uphold and defend the Constitution of the United States. We cannot stand by as our Constitution is threatened as it is now. It gives me great pleasure now to introduce to you our first speaker, Bridget Pierce. Bridget is the president of the Board of Directors of Catholic Charities of Northern Nevada, which many of you know better as St. Vincent's, an organization very well known in our community here. Mrs. Pierce.
Thank you, Gwen. Thank you all for being here today. I don't know which one of these is working, so I'm just going to go with it. Tilt it up. Okay. Obviously, I'm not a full-time public speaker. Thank you again very much for being here. I am very honored to be the current president of the Board of Catholic Charities, and it is very important to have all of you here to defend our rights as Americans, our rights as a church, to believe what we believe and to support what we support. In Matthew's Gospel, Jesus commanded his followers to feed the hungry, to clothe the naked, to give drink to the thirsty, to care for the widow and the orphan. In short, to see Jesus in the common man, but especially in those who are poor, weak, and marginalized. For over 2,000 years, the Catholic Church has been carrying out that command. And for over 70 years, Catholic Charities has served our community in northern Nevada by feeding the poor and the homeless, offering emergency assistance, distributing blankets and clothing to those in need, and much more. Catholic Charities of Northern Nevada is one of the largest non-governmental providers of social services in our community. Every day, St. Vincent's Dining Room serves over 583 meals, 6 days a week, to people in our community. That's more than 15,400 meals every month. St. Vincent's Pantry distributes to more than 23,000 persons each and every month. Our emergency assistance program offers numerous free services to those in need, including rental assistance, birth certificates, work permits, ID cards, hygiene kits, bus passes, and much more. Our Holy Child Daycare offers daycare and preschool on a sliding scale to people of our community. But the HHS mandate is going to change all of that. Catholic Charities of Northern Nevada employs 62 people and offers health insurance to its full-time employees. But if this HHS mandate is not rescinded, Catholic Charities will be fined for not offering contraception and abortion-inducing drugs to its employees as part of its health plan. The minimum amount of the fines Catholic Charities of Northern Nevada will have to pay is $64,000 per year. $64,000 equals approximately 28,000 meals at St. Vincent's Dining Hall. $64,000 could buy 84,000 pounds of food for people in our community. The impact of these fines on Catholic Charities will reverberate throughout Northern Nevada. It is not just the Catholic Church that will be hurt by the mandate. It is the whole of our community, especially those who are poor, those who have lost their jobs, and those who cannot make do without our help. In today's economy, more people than ever depend upon our services. How many of your neighbors and their children will go without shelter or go home hungry because of this mandate? Please help us continue our mission to help those most needy in our community. Please help us to get this HHS mandate overturned. Thank you.
Thank you, Bridget. I am very proud to introduce to you now Pastor Brent Brooks. Pastor Brooks has been a key leader in our group that has gotten together to fight this HHS mandate for the past couple of months. Pastor Brooks is the senior pastor at Reno Christian Fellowship. Pastor Brooks?
Good afternoon. As you said, my name is Brent Brooks. I am a Protestant pastor, and I deeply agree with my Catholic brothers and sisters that abortion is the intentional taking of human life. I don't share the same theological reservations with contraception as my Catholic brothers and sisters, but I will defend with all that is within me your right to those beliefs and your right to be free from governmental restraint on those beliefs. To the extent that the beliefs of any of my Christian brothers and sisters are impeded, to the same extent the beliefs of each and every one of us are threatened. I find it impossible to stay silent at a time like this. I come appalled today at the fact that we need to be standing here in front of this building protesting the wrong-headed and belligerent acts of our own government, the very government that is tasked with protecting our Constitution. How and why does the government think it has a greater and higher role in the protection of women and children than the Christian Church? The Church has stood on behalf of women and children, the poor and the downtrodden, for 2,000 years. Why does our government now think it has the right and duty to replace us in this task? Do not for a moment believe the public relations machine from Washington that is seeking to gloss over what is being done here. We are being fed lies, slander, and diversionary tactics. This is not about access to contraception. Contraception is ubiquitous and inexpensive. Any woman in America can obtain contraception at a free or a nominal cost. This is not about women's rights when women in their churches are being forced to violate their conscience and their religious beliefs. And even celibate religious women are being forced to pay for this mandate. This is not about preventive care for American health, as if allowing for greater promiscuity and further spread of sexually transmitted diseases will benefit our national health. Where is the care for the lives of the children yet to be born? This is not about a supposed compromise of having insurers pay for contraception, sterilization, and abortion-inducing drugs rather than churches and religious institutions. We have the longest, deepest, and richest intellectual, philosophical, and logical tradition in the world. Do not think for a moment we are so naive, ignorant, or stupid to think that the payments of our insurers will come from anything but the premiums that we pay. This is about a small group of ideological zealots abusing our governmental processes and forcing people of faith and their churches and institutions to violate their freedom of conscience and religious beliefs. This is about forcing us to pay by premium or penalty for abortion-inducing drugs and the consequent loss of human life. This we cannot and will not do. As a former attorney schooled in constitutional law, as a pastor and a seminary professor trained in theology and the religious beliefs of myself and others, as an American citizen raised from an early age to respect religious freedom, I am totally unable to comprehend this latest mandate from the Department of Health and Human Services. In constitutional law, the First Amendment, free exercise of religion, may only be abridged where there is a compelling state interest. I know of no compelling state interest that would allow for such an invasion of freedom of conscience, religious liberties, and private contractual rights. There is no such compelling interest. Since when did children become a disease requiring preventive care? Have we become China, where it's state policy to control family size? Why are religious institutions and their insurers being mandated and forced by their own government to practice federally enforced birth control, including abortion and inducing drugs, in violation of their conscience and religious beliefs? Where do we draw the line after this? Is government-mandated insurance funding of abortion and euthanasia next? Where is the proper place for freedom of conscience and religious liberties? I stand today with all of you to demand the immediate repeal of this unjust, unrighteous, and unconstitutional power grab. And I want our government to know that Christian brothers and sisters, Catholic and Protestant, will stand together in this matter until this outrageous mandate is repealed, removed, and forever forgotten. We are Americans. We are believers in Jesus Christ. There are millions of us. We will not be silent. We are loud, we are vocal, we are here, we will keep coming back here, we are outraged, we will vote, and we will not be bullied into betraying our fundamental religious beliefs. Thank you.
Thank you, Pastor Brooks. I'm now happy to introduce to you our next speaker, Mrs. Eve McNeil. Eve is the mother of 6 beautiful violin-playing children. She's a homeschooling mother and the loving wife of Jeremy McNeil, a local attorney. Eve?
Thank you, Gwen. Nope, just a second, Gwen. Hold it high. We want. Hello, Reno. Hello. Look at the street right here. We gather on Liberty Street today. Woo! You are friends of justice. Thank you for coming downtown. We are all busy people. I am so glad to know that the denial of our religious freedom can bring good people out. Why are we gathered? Well, the winds are blowing. A storm is brewing. We don't think Orthodox Jews should have to buy other people's pork sandwiches.
That's right.
We don't think Quakers should have to pay for anybody's ammunition.
All right.
The law that brought us out today is truly that extreme. The United States Department of Health and Human Services has violated Catholics' rights to their own conscience. They have decided that their opinions and their values matter more than ours. As a woman and an American, I disagree. The United States protects all different religious practices and beliefs. America's very identity is a safe haven from religious coercion. People from around the world look to us and come to us for our freedom. Thank you to those who have alerted us to this danger. May we forever defend the land the Pilgrims found, a land free from persecution. Our nation's image has been stained. Who would have thought that a single stroke of the pen on this February 10th could wipe out 235 years of the First Amendment? Just like that, it smashed the freedom of convictions for churches and individuals. Ladies and gentlemen, you and I must preserve this liberty. You never treasure something until it is almost lost or lost. If there is a war on women, it is a war on Lady Liberty. Looking out at you today and knowing what is at stake, I know that we who rally here will not stop fighting this lie until it is revoked. The HHS mandate defines religion wrongly. It defines religion wrong. They say religion is merely the promotion of our values among ourselves. By this huge error, the mandate restricts us from living our ethics in all parts of our lives. It denies that acts of service are as important as our gospel, as worship to our gospel. Today we can live our faith, but what about tomorrow? Catholic hospitals care for 1/6 of the nation's patients. Catholic schools and universities have 3 million students. And just a few blocks of here, as Bridget was telling us, the Catholic Charities feed 600 hungry people a day. It is outrageous to force us to choose between our conscience and our ministry. This is not justice. This is not freedom. I wonder, why don't they allow other options for conscientious objectors? Why did they specifically leave out men's reproductive health services? It's actually a footnote. Why is women's contraception an all-important political mission? Is this about votes? Should anyone be forced to pay for this? No. Should anyone be forced to pay for this? No. What will our nation become if the policies set up do not respect all people? Tyranny.
Tyranny.
The mandate is bad for everyone. Women want freedom and freedom of conscience. Women want religion without their government definitions and commands. Requiring anyone to betray deeply held religious convictions is wrong and un-American.
Yes, it is.
But we can smile because we have hope. Rights do not come from mandates. We have these God-given rights. The Constitution explains our religious freedoms clearly, and religious freedom is the most basic law of our land. Americans standing together can fight off this attack against civil rights just as bravely and loyally and proudly as we have always done. We will climb the mountains. We will cross the plains. Let's stop this nonsense today. There are 88 days left for comments at regulations.gov. If you believe in freedom and religion, speak up. Comment on the website. Write editorials. Demand they revoke this dictate. Make phone calls, write emails, and vote for freedom. Just a second. We want. We want. We want.
Thank you, Eve. I'm honored now to introduce to you Friar Francisco Nojoy. Father Francisco is a conventual Franciscan friar and is the rector at St. Thomas Aquinas Cathedral. Father Francisco.
I have a few things to say first in Spanish and then I'll speak in English. Simón Bolívar, el gran libertador de las Américas, dijo acerca de los Estados Unidos que su gente fue criada en la libertad. De hecho, desde los inicios de las colonias, los valores de la libertad religiosa y de los derechos de conciencia han guiado el crecimiento democrático de este país. Nosotros debemos nuestras libertades civiles a la lucha histórica para conservar las libertades religiosas. A lo largo del mundo, los primeros pasos del caudillismo empiezan con la supresión de derechos de conciencia y la restricción de libertades religiosas. Sendero Luminoso, Fidel, Chávez, por un lado, Pinochet, Ríos Montt y la Junta Argentina de la Guerra Sucia por el otro lado, todos empezaron suprimiendo los derechos de conciencia. Sea de la derecha, sea de la izquierda, el caudillo no puede soportar la pluralidad religiosa, porque la libertad religiosa es una fuerza natural dentro del Estado democrático que se opone a cualquier abuso del poder. El actual mandato del Departamento de Health and Human Services representa una equivocación asombrosa de parte de una administración que debe preocuparse con la defensa de las libertades religiosas y asiduamente evitar cualquier indiferencia hacia los derechos de conciencia. Sea lo que sea el motivo por haberlo instituido, subrayamos nuestro total desacuerdo con el mandato del Health and Human Services, porque hemos visto en nuestros propios tiempos el efecto concreto de la subversión de los derechos de conciencia en asuntos religiosos. Por lo cual estamos reunidos aquí a manifestar nuevamente nuestra defensa de las libertades religiosas. Mi papá inmigró a los Estados Unidos de una isla polinésica muy pobre y muy aislada para que sus hijos tuvieran oportunidades que él jamás habría soñado en su niñez. Ahora toca a nosotros defender los derechos que han hecho posibles las ilusiones de nuestros papás. Que Dios les bendiga a ustedes aquí presentes y que el Señor también bendiga a los Estados Unidos. On March 1st, the United States Senate voted 51 to 48 to table the Blunt Amendment, that is, the Respect for Rights of Conscience Act. At that time, our Senator Dean Heller, one of the sponsors of the Respect for Rights of Conscience Act, put these remarks into the congressional record. The Senate, he said, is having a debate as to whether the federal government has the right to bully religious organizations. Let's be clear. In no way would this amendment deny or interfere with a woman's access to contraception.
That's right.
This is an absurd allegation.
That's right.
The debate today is about one thing and one thing only, whether the federal government can force religious organizations to provide a service that violates their faith. Supporters of the President's health care law believe that the federal government can oppress religious organizations, force individuals to buy a product they may not want, and put personal health care decisions in the government's hands. This issue speaks directly to the intrusiveness of the President's health care law. It is clear that this law was passed without regard to religious or individual freedom. We can reform our healthcare system to provide affordable access and care, but placing the government in between doctors and patients does a great disservice to everyone. I want to say thank you, Senator Heller, for your support of the Respect for Rights of Conscience Act. Unfortunately, Nevada's other senator sent me an email last week in which he wrote, "I oppose the Blunt Amendment." In that email, the Senate Majority Leader repeats the absurd contentions that the Health and Human Services mandate is about preventive health services and that religious freedoms are being protected by the White House. Neither of these contentions is correct, and that is why we are demonstrating here today. It's too bad that the senator's office declined our invitation to be represented here, as I would have liked to have asked for an explanation. Even so, it's not too late for Senator Reid to show his support for American religious liberties and to co-sponsor the Respect for Rights of Conscience Act together with Senator Heller. Please ask him to do so. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Father Francisco. I am pleased now to introduce to you a special guest, Mary Ann Wiesinger from the Diocese of Oakland. Mary Ann teaches religious education and runs a Center for Pastoral Ministry for the Diocese of Oakland. Mary Ann?
I woke up to the reality of the HHS mandate a couple of weeks ago when I went to go listen to Father Michael Sweeney, the president of the Dominican School in Berkeley, give a talk of the role of church and the government. At the end of the talk, he said, and I do hope that the HHS mandate is revoked, because if not, I see myself going to prison. But that's okay, because I think Cardinal Timothy Dolan will be there in prison with me, and I think we'll have a good time. But I began to think to myself, why is a priest talking about going to prison? Why would a cardinal be talking about going to prison? I began to think about how little by little our religious freedoms have been challenged and at times taken away in this country. About how our freedom to say prayer in schools, to say prayer in football games, to say prayer, to say the Pledge of Allegiance, to display creches, or statues of the Ten Commandments, all of those have been questioned, and now our right to live according to our conscience is also being questioned and being taken away. It became clear to me that there are things worth suffering for, that there are things worth fighting for. And that is why today I joined thousands of voices across the country in about 140 rallies in 140 cities across this country who say, no, I will not comply. No, I will not be quiet. And no, we will not go away. Ahora les voy a platicar en español. El arzobispo Timothy Dolan ha dicho desde el 20 de enero, cuando el Departamento de Salud y Servicios Humanos ha declarado este mandato, tenemos la certeza de dos cosas. La libertad religiosa está bajo ataque. Y la segunda cosa, no vamos a dejar la batalla para proteger. El Departamento de Salud y Servicios Humanos ha declarado que todo lugar de empleo y cada trabajador autónomo deberán ofrecer seguro médico que cubre anticonceptivos y drogas que causan aborto. Nos han dado hasta el año que entra para cumplir este mandato. No están ofreciendo excepción a esta ley a la mayoría de los lugares de empleos católicos, aun cuando saben que es una violación profunda de nuestra fe católica. Lo que es más importante de esta situación es que nos están quitando nuestra libertad de practicar nuestra conciencia y nos están quitando nuestra libertad religiosa. El derecho de vivir según nuestra conciencia está protegida por la Constitución de los Estados Unidos, que nos dice que el gobierno no debe de hacer ley respecto al establecimiento de religión o ley que prohíba la práctica de esa fe. No es aceptable que el gobierno force a un pueblo religioso a violar sus creencias y forzarlos a participar en seguros médicos que ofrecen servicios que son fundamentalmente contra sus creencias. No es el trabajo de esta administración decidir qué es lo que nos transgresa nuestra conciencia, especialmente en cosas tan delicadas como la vida y la muerte. Es el derecho del gobierno de defender a nuestros derechos, no pisotearlos. It is not the role of the administration to dictate what does or does not violate another person's conscience in matters as critical as life or death. It is the job of the government to defend our rights, not trample them. Para mí como mujer, una de las peores cosas es que están haciendo todo esto en nombre de la salud de la mujer. Pero los que están imponiendo esta ley son poco honestos y están equivocados, porque nunca han respondido a todos los estudios médicos que dicen que los anticonceptivos tienen efectos secundarios muy graves, o que algunos causan abortos, o que a veces causan que la mujer sea tratada como un objeto. Las mujeres son las que sufren con estos efectos. Además, es en nombre de la salud de la mujer que están quitando los derechos de la mujer católica de vivir según su conciencia. Si las mujeres no levantan su voz y dicen que están contra este mandato, tropas de periodistas van a decir que están hablando en nuestro nombre y diciendo que nosotros queremos este mandato. Este acto de discriminación contra el pueblo de la fe, contra mujeres de la fe, tiene que ser revocado. Hay una petición escrita por Helen Alvarez que ya tiene 20,000 firmas de mujeres de todo el país, de mujeres de 18 diferentes religiones, mujeres que son doctoras, enfermeras, abogadas, madres, esposas, solteras. En esta carta le dicen al presidente Obama, a la secretaria de Oficina de Salud y Servicios Sociales y al Congreso que respeten a las voces religiosas, que respeten a la libertad y que permitan a las instituciones religiosas a vivir su fe plenamente. Lo que es interesante es que aunque no sean católicas, las mujeres que han firmado este documento se han dado cuenta que el gobierno está limitando la libertad religiosa y que si no nos ayudan a proteger este ataque, no hay nadie que pueda detener a la administración a quitarnos nuestra habilidad de expresar nuestra fe en el ámbito público. I want to mention briefly a letter by Helen Alvarez that has written to express the opinion of women. It has been signed by over 20,000 women of 18 different religions who are doctors, lawyers, mothers, wives, who have joined together to say, this mandate does not represent me, and you cannot use my name to pass this mandate. I urge you to look it up online and sign it so that we can send a message loud and clear. No, we will not comply. No, we will not go away. And no, we will not be quiet.
Thank you very much, Marianne. It gives me great pleasure now to introduce to you Pastor Stephen Bond. Dr. Bond is the pastor and founder of Summit Christian Church in Sparks. Thank you, Pastor Bond, for your steadfast and continuing support of religious freedom. Pastor Bond.
Thank you for this honor to be able to share with you today. If it remains unchanged, the recent Health and Human Services rule may be the single greatest violation of religious history in American history. The rule forces religious organizations or their insurance companies to violate God's clear moral laws by legally requiring medical coverage for abortion-producing drugs. This is a reprehensible action that appropriately deserves our moral outrage. But the legal issue at stake is not essentially about contraceptives or abortion-inducing drugs. This is essentially a question of religious liberty. What is at stake here is whether the executive branch of the government can enforce administrative orders that violate clearly the Constitution and trample upon the Bill of Rights. As I said a moment ago, if it remains unchanged, the ruling may be the single greatest violation of religious freedom in American history. Tragically, there have been pivotal moments throughout history when the church has remained silent in the face of government malfeasance. But Protestants and Catholics in the Truckee Meadows are united to declare that we will not remain silent over this issue. If this ruling is not reversed, the religious freedom we have treasured in our nation for more than 200 years will suffer catastrophic losses. For this reason, we're calling on all Americans who treasure religious freedom to demand the immediate revocation of the recent Department of Health and Human Services ruling. Thank you.
Thank you, Pastor Bond. Thank you very much for standing with us. I'd like to tell one other short little story before we conclude, and that is about the Little Sisters of the Poor. The Little Sisters of the Poor is a group of Catholic women religious, nuns, in other words, that have dedicated themselves in their entire lives to the Lord Jesus and to the service of the elderly poor. What their whole life is they take care of abandoned elderly people in the United States and throughout the world. That's their whole life. That's what they're dedicated to. Those people that our society has cast aside, the most marginalized of elderly people. The Little Sisters of the Poor, under this mandate, will be forced to buy for themselves abortion-inducing drugs, contraceptives, and sterilization. And I ask you, what are we doing forcing nuns to buy themselves abortion-inducing drugs? Is that right? No. Will we stand for that? No. Cannot imagine a more horrible violation of religious freedom than to make these women do that. And of course what will happen, they cannot do that. So they will pay fines such that they cannot employ people and they will no longer be able to serve the elderly poor. And so how much more abandoned and marginalized will those people be? That is the impact. And I would say that if there is a war on women, that is the war on women. Will everyone do one thing for us here today? You should have a flyer, and on it, on the flyer, on the front of it, are the names and telephone numbers of our Nevada congressional delegation. When we leave here today, will you please call them and tell them what you think about the HHS mandate? Will you call them? Yes. Okay. Thanks everybody for coming out today, and to conclude our rally, Father Francisco, will you come back up to lead us in singing America the Beautiful? The lyrics of all the verses are on the reverse side of your flyer.
Oh, beautiful for spacious skies, for amber waves of rain, for purple mountains' majesty, above the fruited plains. America, America, God shed His grace on thee, and crown thy good with brotherhood, from sea to shining sea. Oh, beautiful for pilgrims meet, whose stern in passion stress, a thoroughfare of freedom be across the wilderness. America, America, God send thy every song, confirm thy soul in self-control, thy liberty in law. Oh, beautiful for heroes proved in liberating strife, who more than self their country love, and mercy more than life. America, America, may God thy gold refine, till all success be nobleness, and every gain divine. Oh, beautiful for patriotry that sees beyond the years, thine alabaster cities gleam, undimmed by human tears. America, America, God shed His grace on thee, and crown thy good with brotherhood, from sea to shining sea. God bless you all, and God bless the United States of America.